Hey, what's going on, everybody? Happy Wednesday morning, and it is quite early in the morning for my standards, at least. I'll tell you ahead of time, I'm not really a morning person, so I apologize if in this video I might show that, maybe more than I would like to. But I'll definitely try my best to act energized. I have my cup of coffee here. It is still kicking in. But I'm sure by the time we get through this, I'll be a little bit more energized. But it is very important I get a video out for you this morning because we have a lot going on the next couple of days, and unfortunately, I'm kind of booked this afternoon. So this morning was the time to do it. So again, I'll have a video out for you today, and I'll have a video for you Thursday and Friday as well. And then, of course, we'll take Saturday off before Sunday. We have another video, and Sunday's video will be quite important because we're really going to be getting into a bit of a pattern change starting this weekend and going into early next week with quite a feisty storm system that looks to cross the continental United States around that time period, which could lead to some severe weather and maybe even some storm chasing on my part here in the mid-Atlantic. So I'll definitely update you on that a little bit in this video, but I'm going to save the kind of in-depth breakdown for that one for later videos this week. Also, Friday is my last day of work at my current job here where I live at home. Before next week, I'm going to take the week off to, just kind of enjoy life a little, maybe go do some storm chasing, maybe just go out do some photography. Before the following week, I get ready to pack my bags and head back up to Charlotte for the long haul. So, I'm super excited about the fall semester. I'm excited to learn some more, and, learning about the weather is always fun because it just makes you feel that much more prepared to record videos like this. So in terms of upload schedule in the near term, today we'll have a morning video. I'm expecting tomorrow to be a morning video as well, although I can't guarantee that. We'll see if I can actually wake up in time. If I can, it will be a morning video. If not, it will be an evening video. And then Friday will probably be a very early afternoon video or a morning video because I have work at 2 o'clock on Friday afternoon, which unfortunately is kind of right in the sweet spot of the worst possible time in terms of working around my recording schedule. But that will be okay. And then, of course, after that, I don't work, so the video schedule will probably go back to the usual kind of afternoon time frame, although I can't guarantee that it will stay that way forever. And then, of course, next week and the week after, as I prepare to go back to school, I'll have to keep you updated on what the forecast upload video times will be like as I get started in the fall semester. I know that most of my classes are before 2 o'clock, at least on most days, if not all. But as for a work schedule, I'm not quite sure what that's going to look like yet. So I'll definitely keep you updated as we get a bit closer. But just figured I'd give you all that kind of housekeeping information I know of right now. And with that said, though, I guess we can go ahead and start talking about the weather. I think I've rambled on about my life enough already, so let's go ahead and get into it. So taking a look at satellite imagery this morning, again, we have this big cluster of showers and storms here over the central part of the country. And again, this is one of those pieces of energy that is just kind of riding along this ridge out here that we've been talking about. And as we go through today, into tomorrow, and into Friday, this piece of energy will begin to kind of slowly work its way down to the south and east before eventually exiting out over the Atlantic by the time we get into this weekend. So this will be the big weather maker over the next couple of days for a lot of folks. And we'll definitely break that down in today's video. But taking a look at it on radar imagery, again, we have widespread rain from western Kentucky to as far north and west as eastern Nebraska. So again, big area of rain with this piece of energy, and with that we are getting some flooding here towards kind of the St. Louis, Jefferson City corridor of Missouri this morning, and that should continue through this afternoon as this kind of just trains over the same general areas here through Missouri for much of the day. Now, south of there, the big story is the heat. So, again, with this high pressure and this ridging, we have a big heat dome out here leading to above average temperatures and some excessive heat for a lot of folks out here through much of Texas, from Dallas to Austin, back towards New Orleans, as far east here as Jackson and Memphis. And then just about the entire state of Arkansas as well under those advisories and warnings. Outside of there, though, pretty clear morning. We do have some scattered showers here in the western Carolinas, and expect this general showery and cool weather to continue into this corridor of the country as we go through the next couple of days. And for my folks here in the western Carolinas, especially expect a lot of rain for you, and those cooler temperatures to hang around a bit more than other areas. Just I've lived here long enough to know that these wedges of cold air really like to hang on for quite a bit longer than the models generally suggest, and by the time the rain gets here, I'm sure it will feed into that wedge plenty enough, and that upsloping will cause some pretty big rainfall totals, and we'll take a look at that here in a moment. All right, so taking a look at today's high temperatures. Again, obviously, one big story is this massive heat dome in the southern plains, but north of there and really just outside of there as a whole, overall, a relatively comfortable day for early August. The worst we're going to get is to about 90 outside of that heat dome here in the east for places like Atlanta and areas south of there. But the further east and north you go, the nicer it gets. So high 80s for much of the Carolinas outside of the mountains, mid 80s for much of the northern mid-Atlantic, and then by the time you get up into New England, a lot of folks aren't going to hit 80 this afternoon, so pretty nice for them. Then also this area, of course, where we have this rainfall highs also struggling to reach 80 as well, so pretty well below average temperatures for some folks. Of course, though, not everyone, as this dangerous heat continues back out towards Texas. All right, so taking a look at radar over the next couple of days, now through Friday, really. Again, today will feature really mainly just this big area of rain here into the central part of the country around Missouri and the St. Louis metro. So that will continue, and honestly, I know this model kind of fades that rain out pretty quickly, but I wouldn't expect it to fade quite that much. In fact, I would expect it to rain most of the day today through places like St. Louis, and even if it doesn't, we might get a bit of a lull this afternoon and evening before another round of heavy rainfall begins in the overnight. Now, starting overnight tonight is also when the rain is really going to pick up down into eastern Tennessee and into the western Carolinas. Again, we talked about this yesterday. This high pressure or this kind of wedge of cooler air that is trapped in here is going to have this piece of energy riding towards it and eventually over it. So this is upsloping, as what we call it. It's pretty much, again, we have a wedge like this, which, just like a wedge you'd put in your door, and then whenever the energy from that low pressure hits it, it rises up and causes, of course, rising air parcels, and with that, those parcels eventually condensate and cause rain. So a lot of the times it's just going to continue to rain, and you might look at radar and say, oh, there's not too much behind it here. You'll see it might be clear behind it, but just the way the wedge is set up, it will just be constantly raining there where that wedge meets that piece of energy from that high pressure. So again, expect that starting tomorrow night, and by the time we get into our Thursday afternoon, widespread rainfall for a lot of people. From Nashville over towards Asheville. Oh, Nashville, Asheville. That's kind of fun. That's a nice little rhyme. Didn't think of that till just now. Have to keep that in mind. Anyway, so again, Thursday afternoon will really be the peak of this and going into Thursday evening as well. And I think this model might be underdoing it a bit as well. So this is 6 p.m. on Thursday. I would expect a bit more widespread rain here into the western Carolinas and eastern Tennessee than maybe this model is projecting. Again, the models just really don't handle these wedge patterns all that well. But either way, we're going to get some very heavy rainfall at times, especially overnight Thursday into Friday. Very heavy rainfall for the western Carolinas. And by the time we go into our Friday morning, it looks like pretty... really just not fun Friday morning commute for places like Charlotte, Columbia, and all kind of places in between, even up towards the Greensboro area and as far south and west as Atlanta. So then Friday afternoon, that big area of energy will continue to sweep on through the Carolinas, bringing rain, although slowly clearing out by the time we get into Friday afternoon for most folks in the western Carolinas, and then going into Friday evening, clearing out back towards the beaches. Now, also, we're going to have another piece of energy kind of swinging through the northeast starting Friday and Saturday, so expect some scattered showers and storms in the northeast as well by the time we get into our Friday and Saturday. So looking at tomorrow's high temperatures, again, very hot out here in the southern Great Plains, but outside of there, below average to well below average temperatures here into this stretch that is going to see that rain. We might not even hit 80 in places like Knoxville, Nashville, Greenville, Spartanburg, Asheville, Blacksburg, Virginia there, also likely not even hitting 80 tomorrow afternoon. So well below average temperatures. In fact, it's probably going to be warmer in Minneapolis tomorrow than it is in the GSP airport in upstate South Carolina. So, that rain is really going to help us out a lot with those temperatures. And as we get into our Friday, things will slowly begin to heat back up as that pattern change begins to build in. But Friday will then be a bit cooler in the mid-Atlantic. So the mid-Atlantic will get its turn on this cooler weather for Friday afternoon. Of course, though, the price with that will be some rainfall. All right, so how much rain are we talking? Again, this big stretch from kind of St. Louis all the way down towards the western Carolinas. Overall speaking, 2 to 4 inches looks like a safe bet for a lot of people, but down into the western-facing slopes of the Carolinas and into upstate South Carolina, that northwestern corner, kind of where I live here in Oconee, Pickens, Greenville, Anderson counties, wouldn't be surprised to see some of us get over 4 inches of rain, and that's what the Weather Prediction Center is calling for here. So some of those higher peaks that are western-facing slopes up into western North Carolina, I wouldn't be surprised to see 4 to 8 inches as well mixing in there. So flooding will be a concern for a lot of folks here. So again, just kind of be wary of that. Have a plan if you do live in a flood-prone area in that part of the country. All right, so taking a look kind of at more of the medium and long range going into next week, I'm going to skip this ahead a bit to where we just left off into our Friday afternoon and evening. So again, Friday afternoon, we'll have two pieces of energy, one working on through the northeast and the other working on through the southeast. So pretty widespread rain for much of the eastern seaboard on Friday afternoon. I think most of us will see it rain. It might not necessarily be a washout for everybody, but again, a lot of us will see that rain nonetheless. So that sweeps on through Friday afternoon. Saturday afternoon, we get a bit of a lull with more of just an afternoon thunderstorm event, but the heat will work its way back into the region, or for much of the east, I should say, on Saturday afternoon. But this is also when our next system gets swarming out here into the Great Plains. And as we go through our Saturday, our Sunday afternoon, and our Monday afternoon, that storm system will really begin to ramp up, get its act together, and likely bring with it a big area of kind of severe weather. And some strong winds as well going into late this weekend and into early next week before eventually that will exit the continental United States, and then we'll have to just see what happens after that. So what does this mean in terms of temperatures? Again, cooler weather for those folks that see rain over the next couple of days, but once we get into this weekend, expect that heat and humidity to work its way back into the forecast. As you can tell, these kind of red colors begin to take back over for much of us here in the eastern half of the country. And that will continue going into early next week before that kind of piece of energy swings on through. And that could cool things down a bit more, bringing cooler or drier temperatures and more comfortable weather for the middle of next week after that swings on through. We'll just have to wait and see what happens with that. Also with the tropics, again, not much going on, so I didn't mention that in the video just to save a little bit of time, because if there's no threat to anybody, I feel like it's a relatively okay thing to do to skip over that section of the video for now. But of course, I'm still keeping an eye on it, and I'll keep you updated as anything changes, and I'm sure it will before the season is over. With that said, though, again, I hope you have a great rest of your Wednesday, and I will see you all tomorrow.